The whole country is going the huge transformation. With that transformation came the launch of many initiatives in every sector you can imagine. Women are one of the main pillars in realizing Vision 2030. And to be able to do that, they need to be empowered. They need to be given equal opportunity. I think I'm super lucky to be posted to Warsaw, especially in this time.
You are watching and listening to Polish Radio External Service. Welcome to our special podcast titled A Coffee with an Ambassador. I'm your host, Ada Janiszewska. And today we're pleased to welcome a very special guest to our studio, Enass Alshahwan, the ambassador of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to Poland. Hi, it's so good to have you here.
Hello, I'm very happy to be here.
And today we will explore the field of diplomacy, of course, as well as your day-to-day life here in Warsaw. So there is a lot to uncover. Stay with us. And starting off, you moved here, I believe it was 2025?
Yes.
So it's not been that long, but I still have to ask you about the Saudi Arabia and Poland cooperation and relations. How would you describe those current bilateral relations that we have?
Thank you for having me. I arrived in Warsaw less than a year ago. But since my arrival, the momentum in the bilateral relation between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Republic of Poland has been really high. We have witnessed many high-level visits from both countries. We had our foreign minister, Minister Faisal bin Farhan, visiting Warsaw January this year. We had Minister Dumański going to Saudi Arabia in a very large delegation with businessmen. Also this year, we had our Minister of Investment visiting Warsaw at November last year. So a lot of high-level delegation visits, many different levels also of visit between the two countries has been happening since my arrival.
So we're having a momentum, as you said yourself. So in which areas do you see the greatest, maybe untapped potential that this cooperation can go to?
There is a great potential for cooperation between the two countries. I think when you look at Saudi Arabia and Poland, you see a lot of similarities. We are both countries who are booming economically, with our economies growing heavily in the last couple of years. Saudi Arabia is a G20 member. I know that Poland just last year reached the $1 trillion economy, having the opportunity to become one of the largest economies in Europe. With that, a lot of potential also to more growth in both countries. So when it comes to Saudi Arabia, we have steady economic growth in the last couple of years. The World Bank predicted also steady economic growth for us in the coming years. And it's a similar story for Poland. I think this allows for a lot of cooperation between the two countries, a lot of potential. When you see the lack of investments happening globally, you can see that there are really very appealing opportunities for investment in both countries and many venues of cooperation between the two countries that we can explore, expand, and work on.
You mentioned the business sector and and trade as well. So I'm wondering, what is like the best investment opportunities, for instance, for Poland to go to Saudi Arabia and maybe start the roots there, business roots?
Since the launch of Vision 2030 in 2016, the whole country is going the huge transformation. With that transformation came the launch of many initiatives in every sector you can imagine. We are building industries from scratch. We are building sectors from scratch, like tourism, sports, entertainment. And with that, a lot of opportunities for investors to come and invest in Saudi Arabia. It is the largest country that has growing projects happening in not only in the region, but I can say even globally. And
Perfect.
With that, a lot of opportunity to different type of companies to go and invest within Saudi Arabia. In the last 5-6 years, we managed to increase the number of foreign direct investment 4 times compared to just 6-7 years ago. And I think this says a lot. There is a confidence in the Saudi economy. There is really appealing opportunities for investments happening in Saudi Arabia. And there is also a very clear focus on innovation, on transferring knowledge, on sharing experiences, and empowering Saudi youth along the process.
So, of course, we're talking about business sector and cooperation in that field, but I'm also curious about cultural aspects because I believe that your country has such a rich culture and maybe not so, Poles are not so familiar with it. So I am wondering whether during your tenure here, you want to also focus on that, on promoting what your country has to offer, not only business-wise, but also, you know, when it comes to literature, arts, etc.
Culture is a huge aspect of cooperation, and I personally have a personal emphasis on this sector because if you build that type of relationship between countries, we will be able to understand each other much better, and we will be able to see the similarities that we have and also cherish the differences that we have. The cultural scene in Saudi Arabia in general is booming. With that, the whole industry, music industry, film industry, cultural activities, focusing on national heritage and culture and promoting that globally. So before even my arrival, my predecessors, I think, did a really great job in trying to shed the light of the most important cultural aspects that we have and organize activities around those. I will try to keep that momentum in these type of activities and try to introduce the transformed Saudi Arabia to the Polish audience.
And speaking of those cultural exchanges, because you mentioned that this cultural diplomacy is important, of course, in strengthening those bilateral cooperation and promoting both nations. But what would you like Poles to know about Saudi Arabia?
There is a lot to know about Saudi Arabia. And one of the main things maybe to know, it's a very diverse country. It's a country that's in the size of more than 200 million square meters. So if you can compare that, it is the size of a number of European countries. With that comes the diversity in the nature. So, of course, we have our amazing, famous desert.
Yes.
But we have our mountains in the north of Saudi Arabia where it snows every year. We have our forests in the south of Saudi Arabia where we are growing heavily coffee beans and other type of goods. We have our amazing coast both on the east and the west side of Saudi Arabia with the Arabian Gulf and the Red Sea. And there is a lot of hidden gems within the country if you go and visit and different places to see and explore. On top of that, you have a very unique culture and a very, very unique hospitality.
And speaking of this hospitality, I actually read a really interesting fun fact about Saudi Arabia, that Saudi hospitality is about being welcome to everyone. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what does it mean?
I think Saudis want others to come and explore our country. They want to show what we are doing within Saudi Arabia. They want to show the cultural and historical sites that we have and cherish that. And that's why any person who goes and visits Saudi Arabia will feel that type of hospitalities. People believe that among themselves are welcoming the people coming and visiting Saudi Arabia. And they are setting examples of the hospitality of the people, not all as a country or the country as a whole, but the hospitality of the people itself. And I think many people who have visited Saudi Arabia experience that more than once during their visit, the hospitality from very generous, ordinary Saudis everywhere.
That sounds so incredible, actually. And when we talk about hospitality, I think that we Poles are also very hospitable. And so do you notice some similarities?
I totally agree. You are very hospitable, and there is a lot of similarity when it comes to that. And there are also a number of different similarities. I think the way we cherish families and family bonds, the way that we cherish gatherings around the table to eat together within family gathering and stuff like that. Even minor things, like I realized lunch is the main meal here.
Yes.
It's the same in Saudi Arabia, and it's a very late lunch, like from 1 till 4. You can say that I'm having lunch at 4 here, which I love.
Yes.
Because it's exactly the same in Saudi Arabia, and it's considered the main meal of the day in Saudi.
And what about differences? Because, well, we have to say that we are from a completely two different regions, and our traditions are, let's say, a complete opposite. So do you find something that I don't know, interest you, or maybe you find a little bit surprising? Like, I'm curious about your perspective on that.
Many interesting things, of course, and I think our differences enrich us and also make us more, I think, wanting to learn about each other and just to discover what type of unique things that each culture has. So I think that there were many things that I really loved, certain type of celebrations, as I mentioned, the family bonds that you have and that culture of society in total and community that you see here. People are genuinely nice, even though maybe it's not very cultural to smile to strangers here. But if you realize like this is part of the culture, and the minute you start talking to someone, you see how friendly they are and how really keen in helping or guiding you with directions or anything else.
Yes, because I think that a lot of foreigners think that we're not that nice at first glance, but then when they actually get to know us, we seem more pleasant. Let's call it that way, right?
Of course.
And so, of course, there is a lot of stereotypes about Poles around the world, of course, as well as Saudi Arabians. And I am wondering, do you also want to put a lot of emphasis on debunking those stereotypes while being here on your diplomatic mission? Because I believe that diplomacy is also about that, to just show a bigger picture of what a nation is and what is it about.
A nation brand, or the way it's perceived globally, is something very important. And one of the similarities that we have, that both countries, Saudi Arabia and Poland, have been working tirelessly in the last couple of years on trying to build that brand, to make sure that whenever a country is mentioned, there is a positive attribute associated with that country that showcase what are the most important values or what are the most important aspects of that country. But this takes time. Building a nation brand can take a lifetime. We realize that in Saudi Arabia. And we want to build a brand where we are very keen on cherishing our tradition, our values, our culture, our history, the whole civilization in the Arabian Peninsula, and then also showing the modern side of the country, where we are really leading when it comes to innovation, AI, high tech, not even in the region only, but even globally. I'll give one example. It was just announced a couple of days ago that in a third year in a row, Saudi Arabia has been ranked number one when it comes to cybersecurity.
Oh, wow. That's huge.
We have been doing a lot when it comes to AI and advanced technologies, and with a clear focus on data centers and being a hub, not only for the whole region when it comes to this field. And I'm personally very happy because we have a lot of engagements of Saudi women and girls in these fields. They are very appealing to Saudi women in general. We have a high number of STEM graduates when it comes to girls in Saudi Arabia. And we have one of the highest numbers globally when it comes to Saudi women working in field related to AI. So we're very happy that Saudi women are finding this type of career very, very appealing, and we are trying to encourage more and more to take part in that.
And I actually wanted to ask about this female perspective, because how has opportunities for women evolved in Saudi Arabia in recent years? You mentioned that there are more women in tech and business. They are becoming entrepreneurs. So that sounds incredibly inspiring, I would say, to all of the women around the world.
This was one of the many outcomes of Vision 2030 and the multiple goals and initiatives that we set within that vision. It was stated clearly within the vision, women are one of the main pillars in realizing Vision 2030. And to be able to do that, they need to be empowered, they need to be given equal opportunity. And this exactly what started happening in Saudi Arabia. Saudi women are highly educated. The percentage of Saudi women who go abroad for higher education is even higher than men in Saudi Arabia. So education was never an aspect when it comes to empowering women in Saudi Arabia. they needed more opportunities. And within Vision 2030 and women empowerment within Saudi Arabia, opportunities started to happening in every sector. And we are not only having opportunities, we are leading in many sectors. You mentioned entrepreneurship. More than 42% of entrepreneurs in Saudi Arabia are women. More than 45% of people who establish small and medium companies in Saudi Arabia are women. So with all that empowerment, because the women are highly educated, very skilled, and very eager to play their role within the country and the society in general, they manage to succeed in many fields, and they are becoming role models and examples for generations to come.
And actually, you're an Exhibit A because you're here as an ambassador. So that's incredible. And also, as a woman serving in a high-level diplomatic, let's say, position, what message would you like to share with young women interested maybe in international relations, careers, etc., entrepreneurship, maybe even?
Diplomacy is a sector that is really fascinating. This is my personal opinion. And I think we need more women diplomats in that field. Because globally, the percentage shows that the women engagement in diplomacy in general is lacking.
For sure, definitely. And I can see that because we've managed to have a chance to sit down with a few ambassadors, and they were all male ambassadors. And you are actually our first female guest in this podcast. So I'm very excited about that aspect. And I told you that while we were off. But also, speaking of this cooperation, you mentioned a very interesting aspect of disinformation and fighting disinformation. And using AI tools in this regard. Do you maybe have any plans to share your know-how with different countries on how to tackle this issue? For instance, in our region right now amid Ukrainian war, there's been a very hot topic of how to fight disinformation and fight propaganda.
Well, Saudi Arabia has been playing an active role when it comes to the governance of AI and AI ethics. And we have been cooperating with the UN on that aspect. And we believe it's a very powerful tool, but at the same time, there is risk associated to that tool. So we need to find the right governance for using these type of tools. And we really need to specify what are the ethics surrounding that type of technology.
And of course, let's move on to a maybe lighter topic. And by that, I mean your life here in Warsaw. I know it's not been that long since you moved here, but still a year and a half, it's let's say, a good time to explore and experience. So how has your experience living in Warsaw been so far?
It has been amazing. I
Perfect.
think I'm super lucky to be posted to Warsaw, especially in this time. Seeing the developments happening, seeing how the city itself is presented, how advanced all the services are, how digitalized these services. It's super easy, I think, to be here. I love the nature. You have amazing parks everywhere you are. Our embassy is situated in Villanov, and even there we have amazing parks to go through and walk in. This is something that I admire. You have amazing also paths for cycling and walking, and I think this is also very important to encourage more people to be fit and take a healthier lifestyle. So I think it's encouraging all of us to see those amazing people on the streets cycling or walking after a long day of work just to go and do as they are doing.
Have you visited any other cities here in Poland during your stay?
I've been to a number of cities. I still have a long list of cities I would love to go and see. I've been to Krakow. It's an amazing city, I think, and a lot of history also surrounding that city. I've been lately to Zakopane. Saudis
love Zakopane.
Yes, love Zakopane. So I really had to go and see it for myself. And I know now why. They are really fascinated by this small city, amazing sceneries on the Tatar Mountains, and I think it's spectacular. So look forward to go back again. And the tourism season has started. Summer is the high season for Saudis to travel abroad, And we see the number of travelers coming to Poland growing heavily in the last couple of years, and we expect the number also to grow more in this year. LOT Airlines launched a direct flight from Warsaw to Riyadh in 2024. And Enass Airlines, which is it's a Saudi airline, also launched direct flight from Riyadh to Krakow every summer. So they are resuming next week their flights to Krakow, and we expect a really high number of Saudi tourists coming and visiting Poland. I think I hear that from a lot of people who came and visited. They really feel how welcoming the country is, how welcoming the people are. They are fascinated by the history of the country, by the culture. They are admiring the food here and loving the diverse cities and sceneries that you have within the country.
You mentioned food. So what is your favorite food? I have to ask you.
There are many favorite dishes, although some of them are lighter than others. Yes. And it might sound as a cliche, but pierogi is my favorite, especially the one stuffed with mixed mushrooms and cabbage.
We usually eat them during Christmas time, actually. Yes.
This was maybe the first dish I tried when I arrived here. And when I tried that again after a couple of months, I realized, yes, this is my favorite. I look forward to try the ones with strawberries. I know that they start in the summer, having them with strawberries. I haven't tried that yet, but I have a list of the best places to go and try them in.
Perfect. And you mentioned tourism and about Saudis who come here every year to Zakopane especially. What about Polish tourists going to Saudi Arabia? Have you maybe noticed some changes, maybe a peak of interest?
There is a huge interest. In 2019, we launched a tourist visa where you can apply for the visa online and get that in less than an hour. So it's super easy now to get a visa to go and visit Saudi Arabia. And with the launch of direct flights, the interest of people who want to go and explore the country is growing. We had more than 7,000 Polish people going and visiting Saudi Arabia in 2025. And we hope we will have a larger number this year.
I have a very difficult question. If you could describe Poland in 3 words, what would they be?
I think it's rich history, hospitality, and future.
Perfect. I wanted to say that development.
Yes, no.
Perfect. Yes.
I think the future is very bright and a lot of changing. I see that even during the small time I've been here. You see a lot of changes happening, a lot of development happening in many sectors. And I think it is anticipated also for that development to grow heavily in the coming years.
So looking ahead, what are your priorities for the coming years as ambassador to Poland?
Well, there are many priorities, and I hope that we will be able to focus on building bridges, building people-to-people connection. I think the embassy in total and my colleagues are doing a great job in that regard, because when you build the right bridges between people, everything else can come along, whether it's trade, political relations, or whatever type of relations you want. So this is a focus of mine.
Will there be any maybe initiative or project coming soon to Warsaw that you would like to talk about or share or invite Poles to come and see?
Well, we are working on a number of initiatives. What's happening maybe soon in the coming week is that we are launching a Saudi film in a number of Polish cinemas. The film has been promoted worldwide, and I think because the film industry in general in Saudi Arabia has been thriving in the last couple of years, we have amazing talent when it comes to the movie industry in general. It would be worth going and seeing. So I would encourage people, if they see that Saudi film listed in the cinemas, to go and watch it.
And of course, we invite everyone who watches us and of course listens to us to go and see what Saudi Arabia has to offer when it comes to film. And maybe not only that. Enass Alshahwan, the ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to Poland, was our today's guest. Thank you so much for your time and for being here.